Hi there, I'm Nu-Trix, and today we're looking into another plugin from Hornet plugins. It's called Thrust. Thrust is a loudness plugin, so it's not this type of plugin you go, oh wow, it creates new texture and new depth in my sound. It is a mixing plugin. It's not a creative plugin. What I mean by that is when you use a reverb, a delay, a distortion, it might be part of the creation process of creating the notes and playing the song and just having ideas. Whereas the loudness of Thrust is more something you want to use when you start mixing, when you start mastering or preparing for the master. And then you start mixing and you go, okay, well, this is good, but I want to bring out more of the loudness of this instrument without changing the texture of it. I don't want everything to be louder. I don't want the bass to be. So loudness of Thrust is really aimed at helping you having better mix, basically. Bring out more of the loudness, the perceived loudness of some of your tracks. So let's just dive in. You'll see what I mean. It's a very simple looking plugin. There's not a lot of controls in it, but you need to understand what's happening behind it because it might not be obvious when you don't know. There's for me, we should have a little bit of, when we hover over a button, we should have a a value, or at the bottom we should have information saying what this is doing and what this is doing and what this is doing. Because basically, if you look at it, you've got the input and the output, and this without the effects is basically just what's coming in and what's coming out. So input and output, you have it here. You've got a control. You can type in -5 if you want, and it's going to drop out or 0, or you can just move this to the value you want. But if you want to do specifically, you can just type in the value. So this is what's the volume coming in. Like anything, if you bring too much volume, you can make it distort. So it become a distortion, but that's not the reason why you want to use this. You have the effect. This is how much effect you want to use. So if you put it to 0, it's really having the plugin as a bypass. So if I'm playing this drum here, okay, drum's going through this, change to another drum. Right now, there's no effect. You have the original sound because the effect is at 0. So all of this, the white box here, is just not working. There's just nothing happening. It's the same thing as turning this thing off. See? There's no difference in volume. Same thing. So one thing I want to show you, let's go back to the first one. Okay? Let's go back to this here, the insight, the volume here. You have the short term, so it shows you the short term here, and it shows you momentarily you get a -6.8 and you get a -17.7 loudness short term LUFS. Now if I turn this on and I bring the let's say I'm going to put the loudness here to 0. I'll explain what the loudness is. It's a little bit different, and there's nothing in the box. You need to read on the online manual and look at the video to understand what it is. But let's go back here. You just go effect, bring it on. Turn it on. So right now I've got nothing. I just have this on. 0 maximum. If you put it to 0 here, 0 curve and loudness 0. If I bring down to 0, if you look here, we've got -17.3. That's where we're going. And here we've got -6.8. If we bring this up to the maximum, we just got a little bit more volume, just a little bit, okay? If we change the curve, this is the curve of how it's going to affect, and the curve is not linear. It's how much you're going to bring out the loudest sounds in the one playing, but not the, the softer sound in the one that we hear. The softer sample is going to be brought up, but not the loudest. So you're just going to bring these low samples. See? So basically you've got a lot of, the bass doesn't bring too much. The bass was already loud. The bass doesn't change too much. Go from this. Mostly effects. the mid and the highs. And you see here, if I turn it off, we got minus 12.7 short term. Turn it off, it drops down to minus 17. So we got around 5 dBs of loudness back. So it's really interesting, and it doesn't play that loud, but we have more presence. Now you have also the multiband. Multiband is now it's going to affect the signal coming in separate bands, and it's going to have more control about, you know, low, mid, and high, which is great if you want to have that. So it depends on the sound. You test it out, and you have this thing here. The loudness here is about taking back some of the sounds, mostly the high and the mids, and re-injecting it. So where actually mostly the mid, where our ears are more sensitive to it, and re-injecting it into the signal so that part is louder without affecting the bass. If you click on delta, you hear the part that is re-injected. This is the curve of how it's going to be re-injected. See? As you bring up, the low volume sounds are coming louder and louder and louder. Then it's a curve coming up, and it's not linear, so it's going with a curve, and at the top it kind of, it's at the top of the bell, and then it goes down if you're too loud. Now you can also say I want to clip at once, so you go to maximum and it clips. Honestly, if you don't feel it sounds the way you want, try it out. So I'm using it like this, and then just how much you want to have the effect, and then you can bring down the effect setting. It's going to be 50%. So you can hit the mark you want. So this could be also used just on the mastering, master out, just to kind of finish off your mix if everything's clean, or it can be on a specific sound like the drum, especially if you have a whole kit drum playing the sound, a whole loop, then you can bring out some of the soft sound without affecting, let's say, the loud sound like the kick and the snare often. Now if you have it on a bass, for example, if you don't have it, you have it like this. If I bring it up, let's say I'm going to turn this off just for controlling the drum. Wait a sec. Okay, if you don't have it, the bass drops to minus 14.0.12. It's around that. Okay, minus 0.6 max volume. Bring it up. Now it's clipping. It's distorting a little bit. If I turn off the multiband, it sounds better in my ears. Turn it off. We're at minus 10, so we got it very loud. Minus 11. Turn it off. I'm going to drop to minus 14. So we got about 3 dBs so of boost for the bass here. And still the max loft real, it's minus 6.2. So we have a better presence without actually being louder. I know that kind of be weird, but this is really great. It does the job, man. It's just you just need to understand that the effect, well, it's how much you want it. The loudness is how much you want to reinsert the frequencies that are the one we hear the most to boost that part if needed. The curve is how much, and it's not a linear curve, but it's a curve of basically how much you want to bring back in. So it's a volume of the effect applied to the sound, how much you want to re-inject. And when you get to the top, it bells out, you know, top, and if you don't want it to, if you want it to clip, it's going to stay at 0. So the clip is something you use if it distorts, and then you get a multiband. hear the sub you have in this. Great job. Simple, efficient, almost invisible plugin. That's what it should be. And it does the job very well. It brings up the softer part to have more loudness for your sound. That's it. Stay safe, make more music, and see you soon. Cheers.